Hey everybody, welcome to this video for business, math, and calculators. This video is for Module 1, which deals with reading and writing whole numbers and decimals. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I will share my screen and we'll go through some sample problems. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our first problem. And in this one, we are going to write the given number in standard numerical form, which basically means we just want to translate it from words into digits. So our number is 18,032. So to get started on this, the first thing we want to decide is whether or not it is a whole number or a decimal number. And what we do is we look for the word "and" in these kinds of problems. In this situation, the word "and" does not show up, so that tells us we're dealing with a whole number in this situation. So 18,032. So even though we don't need a decimal point technically when we write this number in its final form, I'm going to go ahead and put the decimal point in. And that'll be there to kind of just help us figure out, where our spaces and all those kinds of things go for our digits. Now, to figure out how many digits I'm going to need for this number, I'm going to start with the 18,000, and I see that I've got the word thousand in there. So that tells us we need to take our number out to that grouping of 3 digits. So in this particular case, since we need thousands, what we're going to do is we are going to go out about 6 spaces or so. We might not need them all, but I want to give us enough room to write down what our digits are going to be. So we've got our spaces. The first group of 3 right next to the decimal point is the units grouping, and then the next one is the thousands grouping. So now we're going to go ahead and start filling in our digits. We want to start with 18,000, so we're going to focus on the word 18, and when we write the 18 out in digits, obviously that's made up of the digits 1 and 8, so I'm going to fill those in. And I'm going to get them as close to the comma as I can, which means I do have an extra space out there in front. It just means in this situation, I don't need it. Okay, so we can just ignore that extra space out there when we fill in our digits. Now we're going to move to the next grouping of 3, which is made up of the 32. Again, I'm going to write down the 2 digits for that number, so 3 and a 2. And again, I kind of get them scooched as close to the right, close to the decimal point in this case as I can. That means I do have an extra space in between the 8 and the 3. So what I need to do is, in order to make sure that this number is coherent and is written in the normal way, I'm going to fill in that empty space with a placeholder, which we use 0 in this case for a placeholder. And now I've got my number written in a way that looks normal, where we've got digits all in a row. And my number is representative of 18,032. So my final answer there, I didn't need to include a decimal point. You may or may not choose to use the commas. It's up to you what your preference is on that. But there you go, 18,032. Now with that, let's go on to another example problem. This time in this problem, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a decimal situation. Okay, so I've got 571 and 56 thousandths. So again, the first thing I want to look for is that word "and," because "and" has that special meaning when we're talking about writing numbers in words, and represents the decimal point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my decimal point first. So I've got that. And now what I need to do is figure out, about how many spaces do I need in front of the decimal point, or for the whole number portion, and how many spaces do I need to come after the decimal point for the decimal portion of our number. So before the word "and," we've got 571, so I need to get out to the hundreds column. So with that, I'll need about 3 digits. Afterwards, I get out to the thousandths column, so I emphasize the TH there, thousandths, so we know we're dealing with a decimal. So thousandths needs 3 spaces. We got tenths, hundredths, and thousands are the 3 spaces that come to the right of the decimal point. So now that I got my spaces filled in, now I need to start filling in my digits. So again, I'm going to jump back over to the whole number part, 571. So I'm going to write those down, 5, 7, and 1. That fills up all 3 spaces, so I don't need to worry about any placeholder zeros in this case. Now I'm going to jump to the decimal portion of it. 56 thousandths. So I need to write down the digits 5 and 6. So again, I'm going to kind of get those digits written in all the way to the right. So there's my 5 and 6 for 56. I do have an empty space in there. So I need to fill in that empty space with a placeholder. So I'm going to put 0 into that spot. And there you go. There's our number, 571 and 56 thousandths. Now, another situation that you might run into is a case where you've kind of got a number written partially in words, partially in digits. A lot of times this notation is used for like really large numbers, you know, in the millions and in the billions and trillions and so on and so forth there. So we've got 9.23 million. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to translate this into just all digits. No, I don't want the word million in there. I want all my digits. So the first thing I need to check out is the fact that we're in the millions. So I'm going to put in my decimal point, and I need to get out to the millions grouping. So again, that first group of 3 next to the decimal point is the units, and then the next group of 3 moving to the left is the thousands, and then the next group is the millions. Now I need to start filling in my digits. So 9.23 million, what that means is I've got 9 million and then part of another million. So that 9 is going to go in that millions column. Now I know it gets a little bit confusing with the decimal point in there, you know, and trying to keep track of where the decimal point should be in our final answer. But in this case, what that decimal point does is it separates us from the millions column and then the thousands grouping. So the next portion is to fill in the 2 and the 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write that right in line. So essentially, the decimal point in the original number, the 9.23, is replaced by a comma. So I got 9,23. And then I just need to fill in zeros for the rest of these spots to get me all the way to the decimal point. So I'm going to just put in placeholder zeros to finish off my number. And there you go. If I say this in standard form rather than 9.23 million, the standard form would be 9,230,000. So there's our final answer. Okay. It gets a little bit confusing, I know, with the decimal point, but you just got to be kind of careful when you're translating words written in this form into standard numerical form. All right, for our next example, let's go in the other direction. Instead of having our number written in words, let's have our number written in digits, and let's translate this into words, into verbal form. So basically what you have to do is you have to take your number and you want to kind of chunk it out into the groups of 3. So if you want, you can go ahead and put commas into the number to kind of help visualize what that might look like. And then basically you start writing it like you would say it. So the first portion that we have is the 12, and that's out in the millions group. So we say the word 12 and then just add million onto our phrase. So we've got 12 million. The next group is the thousands, and we've got 78,000. So write out the 78 and then just tack on the word thousand. And then finally, we've got the last group of 3 digits there, the 500, and we just simply write out 500. There's no decimal or anything like that, so we don't need to worry about any and or any other phrasing like that. So there we go. There's our number written in words, 12,078,500. Now let's look at a final example here where we are dealing with a number that involves a decimal. Okay, so again, I want to go through that same process. I'm going to write it like I would say it. So I've got 7,006 and is the decimal point, 39 hundredths. So again, you write it like you say it. So if we start with the 7, that's in the thousands column, so 7,000. And then we've got those placeholder zeros in there, but it's just 6. So we're going to write 7,006. Again, the key word in this situation is the word and, because that represents the decimal point. Okay. So now that I've got the and in there, now I focus on the digits that come after. It's 39, and the 9 is in the hundredths column. So I simply write out the number, 39, and then hundredths. And there we go, 7,006 and 39 hundredths. All right, so that wraps up our video here for Module 1. I hope the examples were helpful. If you have any questions about these examples or any of the problems that you're working on in the homework or getting ready for the quiz, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you out. Otherwise, thanks for watching the video, and we'll talk to you in the next video.